A canal navvy. Before the introduction of cheap railway travel in the middle of the 19th century, it was unusual for people to move around the country. Consequently, all those coming to live in a place where they were unknown were treated with suspicion. Men working on the construction of canals, who often came from distant places, also had problems with local people. When the Leeds and Liverpool Canal was being built, the Canal Committee minutes for January 1771 noted, "The labourers for cutting the canal are much imposed on by extravagant charges of the innkeepers. The committee are desired to consider if any scheme can be come into for the convenience of such labourers by erecting tents, booths etc. and providing them with meat and drink at a more easy expense." 3 of the committee members were asked to look into the problem, and they purchased a house for the accommodation of the canal diggers. 25 years later the problem continued. In December 1796 there were 297 men employed on building the canal. The following February this had risen to 468 and then to 518 in March. Such factors as weather and harvest time affected the numbers of men available for work on building the canal. Those working on the canal were a mixture of locals and professional navvies, many of the latter being Scotsmen who had previously worked with Robert Whitworth, the canal's engineer, on the Forth and Clyde Canal. The locals were very antagonistic to the Scotsmen, and this resulted in a riot which was reported thus in the Canal Company's minutes: 1792 December 4th. It having been reported that on Monday se'nnight a riot of a very serious nature happened amongst the workmen employed upon the canal at Marsden and Barrowford, and many of them most violently assaulted and wounded, and that in the discovery of the offenders and bringing them to justice Captain Clayton, one of His Majesty's Justices of the Peace, had taken an active part. Resolved unanimously that the thanks of this meeting be given to Captain Clayton, and that Major Clayton be requested to transmit the same. Ordered that the prosecution of the offenders concerned in the above riot be carried on at the company's expense. Ordered that the advertisement prepared by Mr. Hardy and now read, and which was as follows: breaches of the peace. Whereas most violent and outrageous riots, assaults and other breaches of the peace have been lately committed by several persons employed upon the Leeds and Liverpool Canal in or near to Barrowford, and which it is apprehended has been countenanced and encouraged particularly against the North Britons employed upon the said canal by persons resident near to the works of the said canal. Notice is hereby given that the proprietors of the said canal are resolved to use their utmost endeavours to preserve the peace amongst and procure protection for the workmen who are or shall be employed in the said works, and for that purpose will at their own expense prosecute the aggressor and protect the injured of whatever county they may happen to be, who have been concerned in or injured by the above outrages, or who hereafter shall be guilty of or suffering by any riots, assaults or other breaches of the peace which shall be committed by or upon any such aforesaid workman. December 1st 1792. Be printed and 500 copies thereof distributed upon the works of the canal. Alexander Mackenzie was one of the navvies who followed Robert Whitworth from Scotland. In 1793 he was staying at the Chapel Inn, Little Marsden. On 11th of March 1793 he married Mary Roberts, one of the landlord's 2 daughters. Their first son was born at the inn and baptized at the chapel. They returned to have their subsequent children baptized as well. From their entries in the register of Colne Parish Church, it is possible to trace progress of the canal through East Lancashire. Born place of residence William the 20th of March 1794 Little Marsden Alexander the 10th of February 1796 Oldham Sarah the 12th of December 1797 Little Marsden Daniel the 23rd of December 1799 Burnley Margaret the 5th of April 1802 Henfield John the 1st of November 1804 Henfield David the 7th of March 1808 Trishton Thomas the 25th of December 1808 Altham. The family finally settled in Blackburn. By this time Alexander had become a contractor, and he was responsible for several sections of the canal built between 1801 and 1816 when he lived in Byrom Street, Blackburn. He went on to work on other civil engineering projects around the country. On his death in 1836, his eldest son, William, carried on the business. He eventually became the senior partner in the firm of Mackenzie and Brassey, who were England's most successful railway contractors. In the middle of the 19th century they were to build many railways, both in England and abroad, the total value of the works being £17 million, around £850 million at today's prices. In 1844, William erected a memorial obelisk to his mother and father in the Independent Chapel, in Chapel Street. William died 7 years later, leaving about £500,000.